3600 high. As the Fed might cut rates, investors reach for the sky. Stagflation whispers in the market's ear, while bullion shines bright, casting out the fear. Chinese exports slowing, growth starts to fade. Trade war with Washington, heavy price being paid. Shipments to America down 33%. August numbers showing where the tensions went. Golden days are calling, markets rise and fall. From the east to west, we're watching it all. Money flows like rivers, changing course each day. In this global dance, we all find our way. Oil prices holding steady around 65. OPEC's got a plan to keep the wells alive. Saudi wealth fund selling bonds to raise some cash, as oil shocks complicate their economic dash. September's known for market blues and scary falls, but the Fed might rescue us from autumn's calls. Stock market history says this month's the worst, yet hope springs eternal, bubble fears dispersed. Golden days are calling, markets rise and fall. From the east to west, we're watching it all. Money flows like rivers, changing course each day. In this global dance, we all find our way. India's middle class keeps buying up the stocks, defying tariff threats and trade war shocks. Their savings pour in like monsoon rain, making markets strong through economic strain. Conjuring last rites breaks box office ground. 83 million, that's a scary sound. Horror sequel magic 65% more than anyone predicted at the movie store. From Beijing to Riyadh, from Mumbai to LA, the numbers tell stories of our modern day. EU turns the page on transatlantic ties, while golden futures reach up to the skies. So here's to the markets and the stories they tell, of fortunes that rise and economies that swell. In this interconnected world we call home, every headline matters wherever we roam.
Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, September 8th, and welcome to your daily news roundup. I'm coming to you bright and early at 6 a.m. Eastern with some fascinating developments from around the globe that are shaping our economic landscape. Let's dive right in. The big story grabbing headlines today is gold's absolutely spectacular run. We're talking about bullion hitting $3,600 an ounce, folks. That's a blistering rally driven primarily by expectations that the Federal Reserve might be gearing up for rate cuts. Now, what's interesting here is the underlying concern about stagflation that's really fueling this precious metals surge. Investors are hedging their bets, and when uncertainty looms, gold traditionally becomes that safe haven asset everyone flocks to. Speaking of global economic dynamics, we're seeing some concerning trends out of China. Chinese exports are growing at their slowest rate in 6 months, with shipments to the United States falling by a whopping 33% in August alone. This is a clear indication that the ongoing trade tensions with Washington are having real, measurable impacts on China's economy. It's not just numbers on a spreadsheet anymore. we're seeing genuine economic slowdown effects. Now, shifting our focus to energy markets, there's an interesting perspective from Emirates NBD suggesting that oil prices will likely hover around $65 per barrel throughout 2025. OPEC Plus has announced a modest production boost for October, which might seem counterintuitive, but the alliance is betting that increased sales volumes will offset any revenue hits from potentially lower prices. It's a calculated risk that could help support GDP growth across Gulf Cooperation Council countries. Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund is making moves too, preparing to sell dollar bonds to finance their massive investment plans. This comes at a time when oil price volatility is complicating the kingdom's ambitious economic diversification strategy. Meanwhile, there's some fascinating market psychology at play in the United States. September has historically been the worst performing month for American equity markets. It's an old Wall Street saying backed by decades of data. However, many analysts believe the Federal Reserve's potential policy moves could rescue this traditionally difficult month for stocks. In a surprising twist from global markets, India's middle-class investors continue to pour money into stocks despite looming tariff threats and trade war concerns. This domestic investment surge is making India's market remarkably resilient to external economic shocks, showing how local investor confidence can sometimes override international uncertainties. And here's a fun entertainment industry note to round out our business coverage. The Conjuring. Last Rites absolutely demolished box office expectations over the weekend, bringing in roughly $83 million in the US and Canada. That's about 65% higher than industry predictions, proving that audiences still have an appetite for quality horror sequels. On the diplomatic front, EU President Antonio Costa is striking an optimistic tone about transatlantic relations, saying the bloc has turned the page with the Trump administration. This suggests some stabilization in US-Europe relationships after earlier tensions. As we wrap up, it's worth noting how interconnected our global economy has become. From gold prices influenced by Fed policy, to Chinese export numbers affected by US trade policy, to Saudi investment strategies shaped by oil market dynamics, everything is connected in ways that would have been unimaginable just decades ago. That's your Monday morning economic roundup. Stay informed, stay engaged, and remember that these seemingly distant financial movements often have very real impacts on our daily lives.